Good evening, live from the news center of the Sultanate of Oman Television. Here we present to you tonight's news bulletin. But first, the headlines. The third Oman Neurology Conference reviews in Salalah the latest studies on the treatment of neurology diseases. Oman LNG signs 14 agreements this year with various international companies to export around 10.5 million metric tons of gas annually. Muscat Stock Exchange records the best closing level since last March. And an agreement is signed between Karwa Motors and Taj Duqm for the production of armored vehicles in the special economic zone of Duqm. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq sends a cabal of greetings to Captain's Regent of the Republic of San Marino, His Excellency Alessandro Sacranio, and Her Excellency Adele Tonini on their country's National Day. With a wide participation from the international doctors and specialists, Third Oman Neurology Conference 2023 was launched in the Wilayah of Salalah. It aimed to shed light on the latest studies and practices as well as medical treatments on neurology diseases. The conference was presided over by His Excellency Dr. Saeed bin Harb al-Lamki and the Secretary of the Minister of Health for Health Affairs. Around 25 work papers were discussed during the conference, including 7 scientific sessions as well as 2 workshops. It reviewed a number of topics such as strokes, epilepsy, muscles disorders, and other conditions. Oman LNG has succeeded in marketing its production beyond 2024 and has been able to attract investors from new markets from the Middle East, Asia, and Europe. This achievement comes as a result of production efficiency of its factory in the Wilayah of Sur, which includes 3 locomotives for liquefying natural gas, in addition to investors' confidence in the company's operations in this field. Oman LNG company clarified that the total number of binding clause agreements signed by the company since the beginning of this year until now has reached 14 agreements with a number of major international companies from Japan, Thailand, China, Turkey, and Germany, according to which the company is committed to exporting about 10.4 millions of metric tons of LNG starting 2025. The company indicated that these agreements comes with its keenness to solidify the status of the Sultanate of Oman as a reliable exporter of power and to benefit from the economic opportunities in international power markets. The Capital Market Authority is reviewing the prospectus of OQ, which is the largest share insurance in the Omani capital market. It is expected that the public offering will be at a value of 212 million Omani Riyals, which amounts to 49% of the company's capital. The authority called on citizens and residents intending to invest to prepare for this type of investments by creating an investor account through Muscat Clearing and Depository Company. Through the offering of the shares, OQ Gas Networks company seeks to benefit from financing advantages provided by the capital market. Last August, Muscat Stock Exchange recorded the best closing level since last March after the main index of the stock exchange rose near 4,800 points, recording a monthly increase of 22 points, rising for the 3rd consecutive month. The sectorial indices witnessed a variation in their performance as the financial sector index recorded an increase of 4 points. Meanwhile, the industrial sector declined by about 107 points and the services sector index also declined by 9 points. Omantel topped the most traded companies in terms of turnover with 14,800,000 Omani Riyals. The value of real estate trading in the Sultanate of Oman increased by the end of last July by 16.8%, reaching 1.6 billion Omani riyals. Preliminary statistics issued by the National Center for Statistics and Information indicated that the fees collected for all legal transactions amounted to 38,300,000 Omani riyals, which with an increase of 10.9%. The traded value of sales contracts amounted to 619 million Omani riyals, while the traded value of mortgage contracts recorded 1.7 billion Omani riyals, an increase exceeding 44%. The total production of the refineries and petroleum industries in the Sultanate of Oman increased by 13.5% by the end of July 2023. According to the National Center for Statistics and Information, the production of car fuel 91 recorded an increase by 27.1% to reach more than 9.6 million barrels, while the production of car fuel 95 recorded by a decline by 22.2% to reach more than 7.2 million barrels. The production of diesel by the end of July 2023 witnessed an increase by 9% to reach around 20 billion barrels. Karwa Motors, a subsidiary of the Oman Investments Authority, signed a cooperation and manufacturing services agreement with Taj Dukum Company to transfer the manufacturing operations of armored vehicles to Karwa Company in the Special Economic Zone at Dukum. Karwa Motors affirmed that the agreement comes within the framework of the company's strategy to diversify production lines and benefit from the manufacturing capabilities available in it, explaining that the agreement reflects the company's commitment to strengthening the local industry, expanding into regional and international market, and stimulating commercial movement in the Special Economic Zone at Dukum. You are with the Sultanate of Oman Television, and later to come in our news bulletin. Kenyan-based company uses carbon credit to expand distribution of clean cook stove. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. North Korea fired several cruise missiles towards the Yellow Sea earlier today. According to the South Korean military, details of the launch were being analyzed by South Korean and U.S. intelligence authorities. It was the latest in a series of missiles tests and military exercises conducted by the North in recent weeks, including a failed spy satellite launched late last month, prompting fresh criticisms from the country's major political parties. Meanwhile, Japan and the United States are expected to soon agree on jointly developing and interceptor missiles to counter hypersonic warheads being developed by China, Russia, and North Korea. A typhoon Saola made landfall in the southern Chinese province of Guangdong earlier today as violent winds lashed nearby Shenzhen, Hong Kong, and Macau, leaving at least one dead and a trail of destruction and flooding in many areas. The Asian financial hub of Hong Kong and China's neighboring populous province of Guangdong had cancelled hundreds of flights yesterday and shut business schools and financial markets as Saola had edged closer. Despite weakening, Saola continues to affect the region, Chinese authorities said, as it moves towards Taiwan's eastern coast. More than 300 people were stranded at Hong Kong airport after some 460 flights were cancelled. Hong Kong imposed its highest hurricane storm signal at 10 last night, lowering it by 8 by this morning. The city sub-observatory said the warning would remain in force until 4 p.m. as heavy rain and flooding were still affecting the territory. Fallen trees were strewn over many roads, particularly in the more exposed outlying islands. Following up on the success of India's moon's landing with the Chandrayaan-3, the country's space agency launched a rocket today to study the sun. India's first space-based solar probe, Aditya L1, named after the Hindi word for the sun, and its aim to study solar winds. The Aditya L1 spacecraft is designed to travel about 1.5 million kilometers over 4 months to kind of parking lot in space where objects tend to stay put because of balancing gravitational forces, including fuel consumption for the spacecraft. Longer-term data from the mission could help better understand the sun's impact on Earth's climate patterns and the origins of the solar wind, the stream of particles that flow from the sun through the solar system. Russia yesterday said any Western facilities manufacturing weapons in Ukraine will become Russia's forces' key targets, while Ukraine claimed on the same day to intensify its drone strikes on Russian territory. Ukraine's current drone attacks targeting Russian territory have been confirmed by the Russian side. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin announced that the Russian air defense system successfully intercepted and downed an unmanned aerial vehicle UAV attempting to fly towards Moscow in the vicinity of Lyubertsy. There were no casualty or property damage reported from the incident. Over the course of week, 281 Ukrainian UAVs were destroyed by Russia's air defense and electronic warfare systems. Kenya-based company Burn, which produces a range of clean cook stoves, is using carbon credits to help increase the distribution of their product to lower-income families in the region. Here is a report on that.
From wood to charcoal and now electricity, the Kenya-based company, Burn, aims to produce more energy-efficient cook stoves to help slow down deforestation and lower carbon emissions. In Kenya's Kiambu County, a number of tea plantation workers have replaced their traditional three-stone cook stoves with Burn cook stoves.
Our improved cook stoves contain all the heat within the stove, so it reduces the losses to the environment. The aspect of reducing the wood that you burn is actually as a result of reducing the heat loss to the environment.
Burn designs and produces older cook stoves in Kenya and now will soon open an assembly line in Nigeria to facilitate distribution in West Africa. The company says a good stove can go for as low as $3 after subsidy. Burn raised $37 million in carbon finance in 2022, with carbon neutral royalty being the largest investor.
There are some secondary air holes within the riser of the stove, so the centerpiece is called the riser. So what the secondary air does is that it introduces more air into the flame as it rises up to burn any more carbon monoxide into carbon dioxide.
African countries, which account for only about 3% of global carbon dioxide emissions, are confronting a rising tide of climate disasters. Yet, repeated financial pledges from rich world countries have gone only partially fulfilled. Host Kenya, which says it accounts for a quarter of the carbon credits traded in Africa, hopes to be a model for African carbon trading ambitions, recently introducing legislation to regulate the market and attract investment.
You're watching This Alternative from Oman Television, and before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The third Oman Neurology Conference reviews in Salalah in the latest studies on the treatment of neurology diseases. Oman LNG signs 14 agreements this year with various international companies to export around 10.5 million metric tons of gas annually. Mass at the Stock Exchange records the best closing level since last March. An agreement is signed between Kara Motors and Taj Dukun for the production of armored vehicles in the special economic zone of Dukun. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman Television. Thank you for joining us and good night.